Days without food, activist Sonam Wangchuk has ended his hunger strike. And the fast came to a close after the centre assured that no legal action would be taken against protesters at Delhi's Jantar Mantar, with Union Ministers JP Nadda and Jitendra Singh present as he broke his fast. We'll get you all the details and the ground developments on that as well. Let's begin with the headlines.
Activist Sonam Wangchuk ends his 26-day hunger strike after assurances from government that no legal action would be taken against Jantar Mantar protesters. He urges supporters to avoid violence, while Prime Minister Modi advises him to follow medical guidance.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces stricter action against paper leaks amid protests over NEET UG 2026 irregularities. He says Union Cabinet will discuss today a draft bill for fast-track courts and tougher punishments for offenders.
Kuwait's air defenses say they intercepted Iranian missiles and drones after a reported drone attack near the Iraq border, with authorities calling it Iranian aggression.
The U.S. military carries out 13th straight night of strikes on Iranian military targets, saying the operations aim to reduce threats from Iran's Revolutionary Guard to commercial shipping and hold Iran accountable.
Donald Trump says U.S. will use frozen Iranian assets to compensate ships and cargo damaged by attacks in and around the Gulf, declaring the policy will remain in effect until further notice.
Russian airstrike hits residential area in eastern Ukraine, Sloviansk, injuring at least 9 people and damaging 7 apartment buildings. Emergency crews battle fires and briefly halts operations due to threat of another attack.
Albanian police used tear gas and water cannon to disperse protesters opposing Trump-linked luxury resort in protected coastal reserve. Clashes leave 17 people with minor injuries.
Wildfires driven by extreme heat and strong winds spread across Italy, France and Spain, forcing thousands to evacuate. Firefighters and aircraft battled the blazes, with EU fire data showing this year's burned area among largest on record.
U.S. has imposed new tariffs on 60 trading partners with duties of up to 12.5% taking effect from Friday. Washington says the move targets forced labor practices as President Trump expands his trade crackdown.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has said he is close to deciding whether to launch a bigger attack against Iran.
Well, Trump made his remarks as U.S. and Iran continued to trade fire and oil prices surged past the symbolic $100 a barrel mark. The US military launched strikes on Iran for the 13th consecutive night, adding that strikes were aimed at Iranian military targets with the goal of diminishing its ability to attack shipping. Iranian state media reported that US missiles had hit the city of Ahvaz near the border with Iraq, and explosions were heard in the port city of Bandar Abbas on the Strait of Hormuz and in Omidyeh.
Kuwait air defenses opened fire on incoming Iranian missiles and drones hours after reporting a new drone attack at the border crossing with Iraq.
Speaking to the Axios news site, the US president said that he is considering a massive attack bigger than ever before on Iran, and he is close to making a decision. He acknowledged that such a decision would have consequences, but said he had not yet made a final determination.
Trump also said Washington would start using frozen Iranian assets to pay for any and all damages done to ships, cargo, or anything related in the region. Trump said Iran would be held responsible for the Houthis' actions in Red Sea. Iran-backed Houthis have attacked 2 Saudi oil tankers after announcing a blockade of Saudi Arabia.
Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a largely symbolic resolution calling for President Donald Trump to halt military action against Iran, delivering another congressional rebuke as the West Asia war escalates. The measure directs Trump to remove U.S. forces from hostilities against Iran unless Congress explicitly authorizes the war.
And for more on this, correspondent Susan Dani sent us a report from New York. Let's listen in.
President Trump says that he's close to deciding what he calls a massive new attack against Iran. But the significance goes beyond another round of strikes. Washington is now linking Iran directly to Houthi attacks, threatening a second major shipping route after disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz already pushed oil above $100 a barrel. That creates pressure for a forceful response, but also raises the risk of an escalation the United States may find difficult to control. With Congress again challenging the war and diplomacy producing little progress, Trump's decision could determine whether this remains a campaign against Iran or expands into a much wider regional conflict. Susan Tahrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
For 12 straight nights, U.S. military pounded Iranian targets. Iran is hammering American military positions across the Gulf. Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait have been hit.
Iran's retaliation has now reached deep into the heart of America's intelligence network, and one name is being whispered in the corridors of power, and that is of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Here's a report that explains more. Take a look.
The night sky over Iran is burning again. For the 12th straight night, American forces are launching strikes against Iranian targets. Fighter jets are in the air. Missiles are hitting military infrastructure, and across the Gulf, Iran is responding in kind with missiles and drones. Tehran has launched waves of drones and missiles at American military positions, with Iranian attacks reportedly targeting sensitive facilities linked to U.S. intelligence operations. Now, U.S. intelligence agencies are asking a much bigger question. Where did Iran get the information? Reuters reports that Iranian drone strikes on suspected CIA facilities in the Gulf have triggered an investigation into whether Russia provided Tehran with targeting intelligence or advanced drone technology. The satellite images show the damage done to critical American military facilities across the Gulf. If confirmed, the implications would be enormous. It would suggest that the war is no longer simply a direct confrontation between Washington and Tehran. Moscow could be helping Iran identify and strike America's most sensitive military and intelligence infrastructure. The possibility of deeper Russia-Iran coordination has already raised alarms inside the US intelligence community. The Kremlin has denied involvement, but the question refuses to disappear. Iran has demonstrated its ability to strike American positions across the region while US forces continue their campaign against Iran's military capabilities. And the human cost is mounting. Tehran says about 50 people have been killed in the relentless American bombardment. At least 18 US service members have also been killed, with around 500 others injured. The financial cost is equally staggering. The US House has passed a defense bill worth roughly $1 trillion, underlining the scale of America's military commitments at a time when Washington is already fighting an expensive war. And the conflict is not slowing down. Every Iranian drone launched at an American base forces Washington to spend more on interceptors. Every US strike demands more precision weapons. The war is becoming a battle of attrition. But if Russia is providing Iran with intelligence or advanced drone capabilities, the battlefield could be changing dramatically. For Tehran, Moscow could offer a powerful force multiplier. For Washington, it would raise a terrifying possibility. America may not just be fighting Iran. It may be facing a much larger network of adversaries working together. And if Putin's hidden hand is really behind Iran's retaliatory fire, the war is about to become far bigger than anyone expected. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, continuing our focus on the we talk about the Russia-Ukraine war now, as heavy Russian strikes cause widespread destruction and civilian casualties across Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv is moving ahead with plans to jointly produce Patriot interceptor missiles with U.S. defense contractor Raytheon after meeting company executives in Kyiv.
In Ukraine's southeastern city of Zaporizhzhia, Russian airstrikes damaged a hospital, leaving at least 16 people injured. Zaporizhzhia Governor Ivan Fedorov said Russian forces launched 5 guided bombs in the attack, causing damage to the medical facility, vehicles and surrounding areas. Police and emergency crews were deployed to the scene as authorities warned of the threat of further strikes.
I can't talk about this in a civilized way, because Russians aren't human, because they don't understand anything, because they came here and trample on other people's land every day. How could they even think of shelling this place? There's a hospital, a cardiac center, people, patients and children right here.
In eastern Ukraine, a Russian airstrike hit a residential district in the city of Sloviansk. Ukraine authorities say at least 9 people were wounded and 7 apartment buildings were damaged. Emergency crews battled multiple fires sparked by the attack, but temporarily suspended operations because of the threat of another strike.
The attacks have also affected trade. According to officials, shipping companies have suspended services to Ukraine's Black Sea ports following increased Russian strikes along the coast, while analysts say the disruption is pushing global wheat prices higher.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met executives from U.S. defense company Raytheon in Kyiv to discuss strengthening Ukraine's air defense capabilities. Zelensky said the talks focused on Patriot missile interceptors, potential licensing agreements, joint production, and other defense partnerships. The meeting followed comments by U.S. President Donald Trump during this month's NATO summit in Turkey, where he said Washington would grant Ukraine a license to manufacture Patriot missile interceptors. Now, Kyiv has long urged its Western allies to boost supplies of air defense missiles to counter Russian ballistic attacks, while also seeking a licensing agreement to build the interceptors domestically.
And we are very thankful for the things what you already did for us. And we want to discuss today about Patriots, missiles, licenses, co-production, and of course we will be happy to make some common, new, interesting projects. We are open for this. Welcome to Ukraine.
And we look forward to working with you and our government and the U.S. government to continue to provide necessary defenses for Ukraine.
A day earlier, Zelensky also met U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, calling for faster action and greater support from Ukraine's partners to strengthen the country's air defense.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian drone strikes hit targets deep inside Russian territory and annexed Crimea. Officials reported 3 deaths, including a 3-year-old child in Voronezh. Drones also struck an energy facility in Ulyanovsk. Russia claimed to intercept over 200 incoming UAVs from Ukraine.
Nearly a month after twin earthquakes devastated Venezuela's central coast, survivors continue to grapple with loss, trauma, and displacement.
The World Bank estimates that a disaster has caused $19.6 billion in damage. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude twin quakes claimed over 5,000 lives. They left nearly 18,000 homeless. Amid the chaos, families in La Guaira continue to search through rubble for their missing relatives.
I have lived in Chile for 9 years, and I was here last year from October to November visiting my mother. Since the day of the tremor, or the earthquake rather, I have not heard anything from her. I have not been able to find her since then. I have looked for her in hospitals in Caracas, and in every place people told me she might be. I went to the place where the dead are being taken, and still nothing.
Survivors are now facing severe psychological, medical, and housing challenges. Cases of trauma and suicidal thoughts are on rise among those who have lost their loved ones.
The truth is that right now, one of the greatest needs people have is for psychological care, mental health. We have already identified a great many cases of suicidal ideation, as well as other cases in which, unfortunately, people have decided to take their own lives because they lack a clear vision of the future, having lost all their family members, their homes, and their material resources.
More than 38 hospitals and 400 schools have been damaged in Venezuelan earthquakes, raising concerns over healthcare access and the future of displaced children.
We also see pressure, a very urgent need, regarding the transition process to facilitate recovery. More than 38 hospitals were affected, and we're talking about 400 schools. Many of the temporary and transitional camps are located in schools. The school year begins in September. There will be pressure not only to rehabilitate these schools, but also to ensure that the people currently occupying them have another place to go.
All right, we shift our focus now. China has begun 2 days of live-fire military drills in parts of the Taiwan Strait.
The exercises are being conducted near the shores of Fujian province in southeastern China. The 2-day drills will be conducted from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day around Dongshan Island. Maritime authorities say the exercises will take place in waters of Fujian province near China's coastal region opposite Taiwan.
The drills come a day after talks between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on a range of issues, and these include democratically governed Taiwan, which Beijing claims as its territory. In recent years, military pressure around Taiwan has increased, with China conducting large-scale exercises following major political and military developments involving the island.
The timing of the drills is being closely watched, with tensions over Taiwan remaining a major flashpoint in U.S.-China ties. The latest drills also follow Beijing's biggest military exercises around Taiwan in December.
Now, this after Washington announced a major arms package for Taipei worth a record $11.1 billion. Washington has long said it is committed to maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, while China has warned against what it calls, I'm quoting here, external interference in the issue.
This also comes days after Taiwanese leader William Lai Ching-te said Taiwan was not subordinate to the People's Republic of China. His comments drew strong criticism from Beijing. A wave of wildfires tear through Europe. From Spain to France, flames are raging across forests and communities scorching the continent.
Well, firefighters have been battling a fast-moving wildfire in southwestern France. More than 20,000 people were evacuated overnight from campsites and communities along the French Atlantic coast. The blaze have scorched at least 3,100 hectares, according to the authorities. French army personnel and military vehicles were also seen deployed to assist the emergency response as firefighters worked to contain the blaze and protect nearby communities.
It's a disaster. Vineyards have been hit. Our countryside is completely scorched. All the places where we made childhood memories have gone up in smoke. The paths where we used to ride our bikes, everything, really, it's terrible.
Spain too faces increasingly severe wildfire season. It is already European Union's most fire-affected country this year. And according to the EU's wildfire monitoring service, 100,423 hectares burned across Spain in 2026, compared to 41,781 hectares in France.
In Villa del Prado, on the border between Madrid region and Toledo province, Spain's military emergency unit personnel hosed down flames and fire breaks were set up after wildfire forced the evacuation of about 200 people.
It's affecting me in the hunting sector, which is heartbreaking. Dead roe deer, dead wild boars caught in the fire. In short, a disaster, an ecological disaster. In other words, they've let it burn. They've let one of the largest lungs in the whole of Spain burn down.
Across Europe, 3 successive heat waves this season intensified drought, strained water supplies, and left vegetation tinder dry. Scientists have warned that climate change is worsening the continent's water shortages, helping wildfires scorch more land this year than the annual average of the past 2 decades.
Italy's iconic Christ of the Abyss statue has undergone its annual underwater cleaning.
Installed on the seabed of San Frutuoso, Liguria, the 2.5-meter bronze statue was made to honor soldiers who died in World War II. Take a look. Indian Navy hosted Operation Southern Readiness 26-2, a major international maritime security exercise in Kochi.
While the Maritime Exchange saw participation of navies across 27 nations, the 4-day exercise was conducted under the Indian Navy-led Combined Task Force 154 in partnership with the 47-nation Combined Maritime Forces CTF 154, which was established in 2023. It is the training arm of Combined Maritime Forces and focuses on building capacity among partner navies.
The drill brought together 276 personnel from across the world, supported by 76 facilitators and experts from 4 international organizations. The focus of the exercise was to boost cooperation and operational readiness against growing maritime threats, including piracy and drug trafficking. The exercise generated around 3,800 training hours.
Indian Navy officials said the exercise strengthens India's Sagar and Mahasagar initiatives and highlights Kochi's emerging role as a global maritime training hub.
The exercise has brought together personnel from 27 different nations to India to take a look and train along with us in various disciplines, exchange their own training and operational philosophies with us. Overall, the entire exercise provides a platform for the nations in the Indian Ocean Rim and beyond to come together and work together to make our seas and the oceans safer.
All right, it's time to take a very short break on World Day. We'll be back with more news and updates from across the world and India. Do stay tuned.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Vielleicht nur als 5%.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World. This is World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar, and my colleague Kripa. Let's begin with the headlines.
Activist Sonam Wangchuk ends his 26-day hunger strike in presence of Union Ministers JP Nadda and Jitendra Singh after talks with Centre. Says, "I'm grateful and happy to break my fast," and urges peace. Prime Minister Modi advises him to follow medical guidance.
JP Nadda conveys government's assurances to Wangchuk, saying no cases would be registered against peaceful Jantar Mantar protesters and those who joined Parliament March. Also asks that government is considering compensation for need paper leak suicide victims.
Kuwait's air defenses says they intercepted Iranian missiles and drones after a reported drone attack near the Iraq border, with authorities calling it Iranian aggression.
U.S. military carries out 13th straight night of strikes on Iranian military targets, saying the operations aim to reduce threats from Iran's Revolutionary Guard to commercial shipping and hold Tehran accountable.
Donald Trump says U.S. will use frozen Iranian assets to compensate ships and cargo damaged by attacks in and around the Gulf, declaring the policy will remain in effect until further notice.
Russian airstrike hits residential area in eastern Ukraine, Sloviansk, injuring at least 9 people and damaging 7 apartment buildings. Emergency crews battle fires but briefly halts operations due to threat of another attack.
Wildfires driven by extreme heat and strong winds spread across Italy, France and Spain, forcing thousands to evacuate. Firefighters and aircraft battle the blazes, with EU fire data showing this year's burned area among the largest on record.
U.S. imposes new sanctions on Cuba's International Medical Missions program, targeting related government entities and Health Minister Jose Angel Portal Miranda. The move is part of Trump's broader efforts to increase pressure on Cuba.
Japan's core inflation accelerated to 2.9% in June from 2.7% a month earlier, but stayed below the Bank of Japan's 3% target. The data adds to expectations of a cautious approach on future rate moves.
Now, activist Sonam Wangchuk has ended his hunger strike after 26 days after the government assured that no legal action would be taken against those protesting against exam paper leaks.
The Cockroach Janata Party, who is leading the protests, has welcomed the development and thanked Wangchuk for his courage and sacrifice. But it added that the protest would continue until the Union Education Minister resigns. A delegation of the CJP is expected to meet government ministers today. CJP founder Abhijit Dibke said Wangchuk's decision to end the fast brought relief to his supporters and praised his role in drawing national attention to the issue.
Wangchuk began his fast at Jantar Mantar before being taken to a hospital in view of his health. He broke his fast in the presence of Union Ministers JP Nadda and Jitendra Singh. Wangchuk said that his decision followed a long negotiation on various conditions. Union Minister JP Nadda has said government is positive on not registering cases against those protesting peacefully and considering suitable compensation for the suicide victims of the recent NEET paper leaks.
आखिर में आज उन्होंने लिखकर आश्वासन दिया है.
There's a statement from the government side. Government is positive on not registering cases against those protesting peacefully at Jantar Mantar in Delhi and those participating in the march to the Parliament on July 20, 2026. The government has already assured threadbare discussions to find solutions to paper leaks and educational reforms for exams in the Parliament. Besides, the government is also positively considering suitable compensations for the suicide victims of recent NEET paper leaks. ये हमारे साइड से.
Thank you. I have my leaders from the apex body of Ladakh.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi has promised that more action would follow on Friday in paper leak cases. He said that a bill with provisions for strict action against paper leaks will be introduced in Parliament soon.
फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट और कठोर सजा के प्रावधान के साथ का ये मुसद्दा कल कैबिनेट में चर्चा होगी. कैबिनेट के साथियों के सुझाव के बाद उसका अंतिम रूप दिया जाएगा और सोमवार से संसद का दूसरा सप्ताह शुरू हो रहा है. तब जल्द से जल्द उस बिल को सदन में पारित कराने का प्रयास किया जाएगा.
The Prime Minister's post came after the Delhi High Court announced a fast-track court to hear such cases. The centre has shifted Higher Education Secretary Vineet Joshi and appointed new officials to top positions in both the school education and higher education departments.
Reacting to Prime Minister Modi's message, the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, called it a pathetic midnight video and reiterated that students want Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation.
Now, on Thursday, opposition lawmakers visited Gandhi Smriti, where they paid homage at Mahatma Gandhi as an expression of solidarity with protesting students and their demands.
Hundreds continued to pour into Jantar Mantar as the protest showed no sign of winding down. The Delhi Metro Rail Corporation has again announced that 17 metro stations will remain closed on Friday until further instructions.
All right, to give us more details on this, our principal correspondent Thamjot Kaur is now joining us on the phone line. Thamjot, what we know right now is Sonam Wangchuk has ended his fast, and there were assurances from the government, Union Minister JP Nadda and Jitendra Singh. They also talked with Sonam Wangchuk there, and PM Modi has also advised Wangchuk to follow medical guidance and has promised fast-track solutions to these such cases. What are the ground developments that you can bring for us at this moment?
Well, Jyotsna, from what we saw happen late last night, it took a bit of extra time to relay that message all the way to the protesters and the representatives at Jantar Mantar. But then late last night, we saw reactions pouring in from not just the founder of the CJP, but also the spokespersons. There is going to be a meeting at the Constitutional Club of India today, which is the neutral venue that has been chosen for a meeting between central government leadership and the representatives of the Cockroach Janata Party. Now, the CJP representatives have said late last night that they will still stick to their demand of wanting the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan to resign. And this is what they've said after the string of announcements that the government has made and the steps that they have taken since 11 p.m. last night. Where we first saw that the Education Secretary Vineet Joshi was replaced and Naresh Gangar was appointed in his place. That happened a little after 11 p.m. last night. And then around shortly before midnight, we saw the Indian Prime Minister put out a video on social media platforms talking about an action bill on paper leak, which will be tabled in Parliament today, which is the 5th day of the monsoon session that is ongoing. And then after that, just after midnight, we saw an update and a statement of Sonam Wangchuk breaking his fast around 12:30 a.m. With JP Nadda and Jitendra Singh, who went to the hospital with written assurances to get Sonam Wangchuk to break his fast. Now, the written assurances include no legal action against peacefully protesting students, as you mentioned, and also financial compensation for the families of those students who died by suicide. But again, there is no mention in that of any conversation regarding the resignation of the education minister. That is still a demand that is being raised at the protest site and among protesters in the CJP, but that is not a conversation that has happened late last night at all. So it remains to be seen what kind of discussions and negotiations happen now after everything that the government has announced, and what is it that the CJP and the opposition will continue to demand as the day further unfolds, Jyotsna.
Right. Now, of course, these are live visuals, Kamchad, of course. Let's just go to these live visuals for now. We see these students still sitting there because, as our principal correspondent mentioned, the students are demanding the resignation. Now, we are expecting a talk between the CJP and the government representatives. We'll have to wait and see what kind of solution we gather from there. So these are the visuals that you can see. These are live visuals from New Delhi's Jantar Mantar.
Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is heading into crucial elections, and former Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has made a declaration saying he wants to become the Prime Minister of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir himself.
Now, it is an emotional appeal or a political gamble. Well, it's, of course, to be seen. Pakistan's three-time Prime Minister now wants a new job, and not in Islamabad. Nawaz says he will take the job if his Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, wins the upcoming elections. Addressing a rally in Muzaffarabad, Sharif called POK his second home. He said his ancestors migrated from Kashmir and promised to ask Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to make him the region's premier. And this, as he says, so he could personally oversee its development.
But there's one major problem. Under Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's own constitution, only a person domiciled in the region and registered as a voter there can become its prime minister. Nawaz Sharif, who belongs to Pakistan's Punjab province, is not eligible. So why make the promise? The answer may lie in the political mood on the ground. Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is witnessing one of its biggest anti-establishment movements in years. The Jammu Kashmir Joint Awami Action Committee, or JAC, has mobilized massive protests demanding greater autonomy, lower electricity tariffs, economic relief, and an end to what it calls Islamabad's neglect of the region.
Pakistan's response has been a major crackdown, a massive use of security forces. Dozens have been killed. Hundreds have been detained, and the GAAC itself has been outlawed under anti-terror laws. With elections just around the corner, Nawaz appears to be trying to project himself as a leader who will finally give Pakistan-occupied Kashmir the attention it deserves.
The position of New Delhi is quite clear. It maintains that the entire region of Jammu and Kashmir, including Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, is an integral and inalienable part of India under illegal Pakistani occupation.
Secretary of State, उनसे मुलाकात है। उसके अलावा उन्होंने जो NSA हैं
India has invited Prime Minister Tariq Rahman to attend the 18th BRICS Summit scheduled to be held in New Delhi from 12th to 13th of September.
The invitation to attend BRICS as a special guest was conveyed to Dhaka this week. Bangladesh is not a member of BRICS, nor does it have observer status with the grouping, and is among a select group of global figures invited to the summit as special guests. Discussions are expected to focus on global cooperation, trade, and sustainable development. Speaking to reporters, Bangladesh's State Minister for Foreign Affairs said that the ministry has received an invitation from India and forwarded it to the Prime Minister's office for consideration.
Now, Bangladesh has reiterated its push for regional peace and stability. The state minister says Dhaka remains committed to democracy and an elected government.
On reports of a phone call between President and convicted former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, the state minister said the foreign ministry does not have specific information on the matter. The United States has announced a fresh wave of tariffs on 60 trading partners effective from Friday as President Donald Trump moves to rebuild his trade barriers after a legal setback earlier this year.
Well, the new duties range between 10% and 12.5%, with Washington saying the measures are aimed at pressuring countries to strengthen action against forced labor. The United States will impose new tariffs on 60 trading partners from Friday, replacing a temporary global duty that expires in the same day. The new levies range from 10% to 12.5%.
U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said the U.S. has enforced a forced labor import ban for nearly a century and that its trading partners should do the same. He said the targeted economies account for the majority of U.S. trade.
Now, the new duties come after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down several of President Trump's earlier tariffs in February. The administration had temporarily reimposed a 10% global duty using different legal authority, but that measure expires on Friday. The latest tariffs followed a months-long investigation under Section 301 of the Trades Act of 1974 and are expected to be more resilient against legal challenges.
Countries that have implemented or pledged to implement forced labor import bans will face the lower 10% tariff. They include Canada, India, the European Union, and the United Kingdom. China, Japan, South Korea, and dozens of other economies will face the higher 12.5% rate. However, the European Union, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and Switzerland will receive limited relief under existing trade agreements with Washington. Goods already subject to sector-specific tariffs, including steel and aluminum, will not be affected. Certain energy products, fertilizers, and goods covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement are also exempt.
Now, Washington is also investigating 16 economies over alleged excess industrial capacity. Now, the probes could lead to additional country-specific tariffs in the future. Trade experts say the latest move allows the Trump administration to maintain negotiating leverage while making its tariffs more legally durable. Analysts say the strategy could keep the duties in place for the remainder of Trump's term.
Separately, the U.S. has already imposed a 25% tariff on selected Brazilian goods, citing unfair trade practices. Washington has also announced a 50% tariff on many Canadian products, set to take effect next month. These measures have raised concerns that trade disputes with key partners could intensify in the months ahead.
Now, Trump has also unveiled a future plan to impose tariffs on imported generic medicines. Their proposal keeps the tariff at 0% until August 2026 to give drug makers time to shift production to the United States. Now, the rate would then rise to 100% from August 2028, before increasing to 200% in 2029.
WION correspondent Susan Terani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
The Trump administration has announced sweeping new trade measures targeting imports from dozens of countries over concerns that they are failing to prevent goods made with forced labor from entering global supply chains. Acting under Section 301 of the Trade Act, the U.S. says that the new tariffs are aimed at pressuring governments to strengthen labor protection and crack down on forced labor. Supporters argue that the move promotes fair competition and human rights, while critics warn that it could raise costs for businesses and consumers and further strain on trade ties with key partners, prompting retaliatory measures from affected countries. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, several Indian digital payment companies have opposed the NPCI's proposed UPI checkout framework.
They're saying it could strengthen the dominance of the country's largest payment apps and reduce competition. According to a letter sent to the National Payments Corporation of India, companies including Paytm, Meta-backed Cred, and Flipkart Super.Money said the proposed framework could negatively impact competition. The proposal, referred to as UPI Meta or UPI Checkout, it would allow customers to save a preferred UPI ID or linked bank account with merchants so they can complete future payments without choosing a payment app each time. Instead, users would proceed directly to authentication or using a PIN or biometric verification, similar to how saved card details can be used for faster checkouts.
The company said saving a default UPI option could make customers less likely to switch to other payment apps, making it harder for smaller players to compete. UPI handled more than 227 billion transactions worth over 28 trillion rupees in June, while PhonePe and Google Pay together accounted for around 80% of all UPI transactions.
The NPCI had earlier proposed a 30% market share cap for individual UPI apps, but the implementation has been delayed multiple times, with the current compliance deadline set for December 2026. Shifting our focus to the world of sports now, Vaibhav Suryavanshi has become the youngest ever batter to score a half-century in T20Is. The 15-year-old starred as India beat Zimbabwe in the first T20I in Harare.
Well, India were aiming to register their first victory in the shortest format since winning the T20 World Cup, and the bowlers laid the foundation for the win. Mayank Yadav and Prince Yadav provided India with perfect start. The duo struck early to put the host under immediate pressure. Mayank claimed a wicket off the very first ball of the opening over to dismiss Brian Biddet. Zimbabwe were left reeling after losing 3 wickets inside the power play and were soon reduced to 32 for 4 in 7.2 overs. However, Zimbabwe managed to recover from the early setbacks and posted a respectable total of 125 for 7 in their allotted 20 overs.
It was the 15-year-old wonder kid Suryavanshi who stole the show. He had scored 175 on this very ground in February to help India win the Under-19 World Cup, and he once again displayed his extraordinary ability to off-power hitting in Harare. The prodigy smashed a 18-ball half-century, his maiden in international cricket. He struck at a strike rate of over 260, which included 4 fours and 4 sixes. It was a welcome sign for India and Suryavanshi, who had failed to make a big score in his previous 3 T20Is in England. India comfortably chased down the 126-run target with 40 balls remaining. This is India's first win in T20 internationals since winning the World Cup in March. India lost 2-0 to Ireland, which was followed by a 4-0 defeat to England.
Thalapai Vijay's Jananayagan has finally hit theaters after months of anticipation.
Directed by H. Vinod, the political action drama has been making headlines all year, and with Vijay calling it his last film before stepping into full-time politics, fans turned the release into a grand celebration across Tamil Nadu. Thousands of fans and TVK workers gathered outside theatres for the first day first show. The celebrations were loud and colourful, but one moment stood out. A group of Japanese fans joined the celebrations in Chennai, grabbing everyone's attention. Videos circulating on social media showed Japanese fans celebrating Jananayagan's release at a cinema theatre in Chennai. 2 Japanese women, dressed in traditional Japanese attire, were seen cheering for Vijay alongside local fans, adding an international touch to the celebrations. The festive mood wasn't limited to Chennai.
Absolutely. And outside theaters, fans celebrated with aarti, music, drone light shows, and cake-cutting ceremonies. Many danced and sang, saying they were thrilled to watch the film after the long wait, but also emotional as this marks Vijay's final film before entering politics full-time. Across Tamil Nadu, giant cutouts and posters of Vijay appeared overnight. Many fans also visited temples to pray for the film's success. The excitement has reflected in ticket sales as well. According to trade estimates, Jananayagan has already earned around $1.8 million in India and nearly $3.6 million worldwide through advanced bookings. All right, that's all on World Dinner for today, but news and updates will follow on the other side of a very short break. You're watching WION World is One. Do stay tuned.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter. Because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world. A 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Hello and welcome back to WION World is One. I'm Kanishka Sarkar and this is Speed News. Let's take a look at all the stories that are making headlines at this hour. The U.S. Central Command says American forces have launched a 13th consecutive night of strikes against Iranian military targets. CENTCOM says the operations aim to reduce threats from Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps to commercial shipping and hold Tehran accountable. The announcement comes after President Donald Trump warned of intensified attacks and vowed major military punishment against Iran and its Houthi allies following strikes on 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea. US President Donald Trump says Washington will use frozen Iranian assets to compensate ships and cargo damaged in attacks in and around the Gulf. Trump said the policy would remain in place until further notice as tensions continue to rise over security in the region and threats to commercial shipping. Kuwait's air defense systems intercepted Iranian missiles and drones following a reported drone attack near the Iraq border. Kuwaiti authorities described the incident as Iranian aggression as tensions continue to rise across the region. Officials said security measures remain in place following the reported attack.